Chapter 1421, God Realm, 3 Chaos wrought by carnage in the divine domain. A mere perceptual innate ability is far from enough if you want to live. Saying so, Tang Xiu tightened his grip. Eternum still had things he wanted to say, but Tang Xiu had no intention of giving him such a chance. Tang Xiu's family had already become his sensitive spot ever since he returned to Earth, so even if Eternum was highly valuable and worthy of exploiting, just the fact that they had looked at Tang Xiu's women in an unbridled manner and the proclamation of his intentions to sell the members of the Great Tang Empire to the slave market had already doomed the fate of Eternum's group. You all need to prove you are worthy enough for me to leave you alive, or else you will welcome the same fate of the members of the Marionette Galaxy. Tang Xiu's gaze swept across the deities other than those from the Great Tang Empire and the Milky Way Galaxy after he killed Eternum. The God Realm had thousands of immortal exuviate pawns that were scattered across different divine domains, and each divine domain was controlled by a dozen or so galactic immortal worlds. The supremes of a galaxy's immortal world would ascend to the corresponding divine domain's immortal exuviate pond, so almost all the galaxies of the divine domain would send a group to welcome the newly ascended deities from their galaxies. Jade Pool Divine Domain's immortal exuviate pond wasn't that huge, so the deities of the other galaxies had sensed it immediately when a conflict arose between the deities of the Marionette and Milky Way galaxies, but none of them spoke up for the Milky Way galaxy and instead watched the scene in glee, so Tang Xiu obviously didn't have a good impression of these groups. Ha! You better know your place, newcomer. We didn't offend you, so why would you want to kill us? Eternum claimed you are a peak-stage ancient god only because he wanted to live. Did you really think you are an ancient god, or what? The onlooking deities obviously hadn't expected to get implicated just because they were spectating the scene in glee, so a few of them shouted back indignantly after blanking out for a few seconds. Tang Xiu grunted coldly and waved his palm, following which, the deities making a fuss all turned into a mist of blood. Tang Xiu's cold-blooded actions subdued all the onlookers in the immortal exuviate pond thoroughly, and even the deities of the Milky Way galaxy exchanged glances with each other and their leader, drunken Immortal. On the other hand, the members of the Great Tang Empire were already habituated with Tang Xiu's style, so they were still in the middle of digesting the fact that Tang Xiu was already an ancient god, entirely unfazed by his action of killing the other deities. Faced with Tang Xiu's gaze, the onlooking deities handed over the divine stones on them without the slightest hesitation, and also told him about the information they believed was most valuable within their possession with the hope to come out alive from his ordeal. Tang Xiu just listened to all of them from start to finish in silence and didn't kill anyone, but he also didn't say he would let them off, so it placed the deities under huge mental pressure. Xiu, if they haven't engaged in wicked deeds and are willing to work for us, why not let them live? After all, it's better to make friends than enemies. We have just ascended to the God Realm, so just the 37 of us are far from enough to establish ourselves as a force here. Star Soul stood up and suggested Tang Xiu. The expressions of the onlooking deities lit up after hearing Star Soul's words that had revealed his relationship with Tang Xiu. They kowtowed towards Star Soul and Tang Xiu in succession and thanked them for sparing their lives before Tang Xiu had even promised anything. Senior Drunken Immortal, you've been defending this immortal exuviate pond for around 100,000 years now, so you probably know the backgrounds of these men. Can you tell me which ones to kill and pardon? Tang Xiu nodded toward Star Soul and inquired Drunken Immortal immediately after that. If you don't mind it, you are welcome to join our Great Tang Empire, Senior Drunken Immortal. After all, we have a deep relationship between us since my aunt is the inheritor of the legacy you left behind in the immortal world. The expressions of a few deities who were in the middle of kowtowing towards Tang Xiu for his leniency changed after they heard Tang Xiu's words, and they immediately turned around to flee. The strength of the Milky Way galaxy was almost at the bottommost position in the Jade Pond Divine Realm, so they would have probably been eliminated already if it weren't for their cohesiveness and communicativeness. However, as they were weak and small in number, they were humiliated and bullied often as members of the bottom rung, And those who had fled just now were undoubtedly ones who bullied the deities of the Milky Way galaxy mostly. Did you think you can flee? Tang Xiu knew they had fled because of their guilt. So, grunting coldly, in the next moment, those deities fell in front of him. Tang Xiu didn't even give them a chance to plead for their lives and deprived them of their lives immediately. Drunken Immortal greets the great Tang Heavenly Emperor. It's my luck to be able to serve you, and your ascension to the God realm is a blessing for all the deities of the Milky Way galaxy, as well. Drunken Immortal's eyes lit up after seeing Tang Xiu kill the deities swiftly, and he knelt on the ground immediately. The other deities standing behind Drunken Immortal blanked out for a few moments and followed suit after him, by bowing their knees to Tang Xiu. After seeing Tang Xiu's actions and style, Drunken Immortal and the others knew that the Tang Xiu would leave carnage in his wake in the God realm. Heavenly Emperor, although the deity with the highest cultivation in the Jade Pool Divine Domain is just a peak stage heavenly god, Jade Pool Divine Domain is just a mere subsidiary domain of the Sky Jade Divine Domain, and even I'm unclear about the highest cultivation of the deities there. If you intend to make the Jade Pool Divine Domain as the base for our Milky Way galaxy, I propose that you should eliminate the Protector as well as the Domain Lord of the Jade Pool Divine Domain swiftly before your strength is exposed to them, and then block the information channels to prevent the Sky Jade Divine Domain from learning about the changes that have occurred in the Jade Pool Divine Domain. As long as we have 10,000 years, the resources of the Jade Pool Divine Domain would be enough to allow you to become a God King, and also allow the other deities of the Milky Way galaxy to promote their strengths and contribute their power for the expansion of the empire. After realizing that Tang Xiu respected and valued him, it didn't take long for Drunken Immortal to figure out Tang Xiu's purpose in inviting him to the Great Tang Empire. Hence, he assumed a proper state immediately and described the situation of the Jade Pool Divine Domain and Sky Jade Divine Domain briefly, raising a few appropriate and realistic suggestions. Tang Xiu revealed a pleased smile after hearing Drunken Immortal's words, as they matched well with his actual intentions. The fact that Drunken Immortal had guessed Tang Xiu's intentions wasn't strange at all, but his methodical suggestions implied that Drunken Immortal had already made such plans priorly, and just couldn't implement them because he couldn't find the opportunity to do so because he lacked the strength for it. Hence, it was a real boon for the Great Tang Empire to have obtained such an excellent strategist who was also familiar with the Divine Domain. We shall follow your suggestions, Senior Drunken Immortal. I shall head out to implement the plan of beheading the top brass of the Jade Pool Divine Domain immediately, and leave the job of cleaning up and gathering the resources to you. I also hope that you can keep an eye out for methods related to resurrecting Supreme Immortals when you are cataloging the resources. Tang Xiu teleported away after getting a simple explanation of the power distribution of the forces within the Immortal Exuviate Pond as well as the Jade Pool Divine Domain. And the location he had teleported towards was none other than the residence of the Immortal Exuviate Pond's protector. With his strength, it took less than 10 breaths for Tang Xiu to cleanse the entire residence. As such, he left towards the residence of the Jade Pool Divine Domain's Domain Lord immediately afterward, and eliminated him before he could even react. Tang Xiu finally shifted his focus to check the changes in the world inside his dantian after he scanned the entire Divine Domain with his divine sense and discovered that there wasn't anyone above the true God stage left anymore. Tang Xiu had sensed that the world inside his dantian had undergone a fantastic transformation the moment the 12 zodiac jade carvings incarnated into animals. The 12 zodiac jade carvings had released countless heavenly laws into the world that consisted of heavenly laws from countless galaxies, and the strongest ones among these heavenly laws were those belonging to Earth. Tang Xiu even had a faint feeling that he would be able to return to Earth with just a single casual thought of his. Chapter 1422, God Realm, for Legacy of the Supreme God, the Free and Unfettered Path. Tang Xiu did his best to suppress the urge to return to Earth and investigated the changes in the world within his dantian solemnly. It was because Tang Xiu knew that just like how a barrier existed between the immortal world and Earth, a similar barrier existed between the God realm and Earth. It also wasn't that easy to pass through this barrier, or else immortals and gods would have roamed free on Earth and left the entire world a mess. Huh? This is an immortal exuviate pond? Tang Xiu had only observed the transformation of the 12 zodiac jade carvings into animals before the deities of the marionette galaxy had interrupted him, and he had actually discovered a new lake within the world of his dantian in this subsequent inspection of his that looked the exact same as an immortal exuviate pond. Actually, it wasn't proper to call the world inside Tang Xiu's dantian a world, as it was rather apt to call it a cosmos instead. This was because the world inside his dantian was too huge compared to the space within the dantian of the average deities. Furthermore, the world inside Tang Xiu's dantian also contained countless planets that thrived with endless vitality, which was an impossibility for the worlds in the dantian of the other deities. This isn't an immortal exuviate pond, it's actually the yin-yang divinity lake. After carefully observing the energy contained within this lake in his cosmic world, Tang Xiu discovered that the lake water's energy had far surpassed the immortal exuviate ponds, and this made him subconsciously link it to the legacy he had obtained in the walled hill village before. When Long Zhengyu had helped Tang Xiu construct the walled hill village, the land had undergone a collapse and injured the workers. Tang Xiu and Yang Lu, a disciple of the thief sect, ventured inside first to investigate it and discovered a multi-layered grave there that finally transported them to a subworld. Tang Xiu had obtained the legacy of the free and unfettered god in this subworld and also obtained the yin-yang divinity vein that had been brought to earth from the god realm by the free and unfettered god, which had promoted his cultivation of the heavenly art of cosmic genesis from the meridian transformation stage to the summit of the viscera transformation stage. They say that the immortals cleansed themselves in the yin-yang divinity lake to ascend to the god realm in the distant past. But ever since 200,000 or so years ago, immortals could only cleanse themselves in the immortal exuviate pond's pond water to ascend to the god realm. Could the reason behind this be the free and unfettered god moving the yin-yang divinity vein and the yin-yang divinity lake to earth? If the yin-yang divinity lake in the cosmic world inside my body is the same as the yin-yang divinity lake from the ancient times, does it mean that I would be able to make my family in the immortal world ascend to the god realm without going through the divine tribulation, by allowing them to cleanse themselves in this lake water once I have shattered the barrier between the god realm and the immortal world? Why did the free and unfettered god move the yin-yang divinity vein and the yin-yang divinity lake to earth and not some other planet? He even said that Earth was the primogenitor star, but that it had experienced a huge change and wasn't as glorious as before. The walled hill village had traces of the god realm, and so did the resting cemetery island. Just what is the link between Earth and god realm? A series of questions popped up in Tang Xiu's mind that forced him to ponder on them deeply. I'm really stupid. The free and unfettered god had told me that his legacy is inside the yin-yang divinity lake, so wouldn't I understand these intricacies as long as I obtain the legacy from it? Tang Xiu slapped his forehead a moment later and sent his divine intent towards the depths of the yin-yang divinity lake. A golden orb shot from the yin-yang divinity lake in the next moment and entered the space between Tang Xiu's brows. A golden light flashed before Tang Xiu's eyes before he found himself in another space. His eyes turned into wide saucers the moment he entered this space because he saw a huge halberd drop from the skies and hack down towards him. He couldn't budge his body at all under the pressure of this giant halberd's aura and couldn't even use his divine sense, so he couldn't help but want to scream. However, Tang Xiu soon discovered that this giant halberd wasn't hacking down towards him but instead towards the body his divine sense had attached itself to, which was the reason he actually hadn't screamed out in reality. The giant halberd was being wielded by a muscular, curly-bearded man who was hundreds of meters tall and was shrouded in purple crackling lightning. The man moved with swift movements as he brandished the giant halberd and left a lifeless barren land in his wake while all human and organic life had turned into ashes. Free and unfettered god, you have ignored the laws of the god realm and disturbed the order of the realm with your crooked behavior. You ought to receive 1,000 deaths for your crimes, and today is the day you shall suffer judgment. A devious smile appeared on the bearded man's face as he watched his giant halberd that was close to striking the free and unfettered god. What are the laws? The only law is the law of the jungle. Do you want me to allow the 12 of you to continue deceiving and enslaving all the deities? If even becoming a deity doesn't give us freedom, what's the point in becoming one? What's the use of becoming a deity if we can't even pursue our ideals after becoming one? I, the free and unfettered God, swear that as long as I am alive, I won't allow the 12 of you to hide the truth of the primogenitor star's destruction, and will prevent you all from lording over all the deities. Once the bearded man finished saying his piece, a familiar voice echoed at Tang Xiu's ears that he recognized to be the free and unfettered God's voice. This also made him realize that he had possessed the free and unfettered God's body right now and was watching this scene from the perspective of the free and unfettered God. Free and unfettered God, nothing can be accomplished without proper laws in place. If it weren't for us 12 supreme gods spending such a large amount of time and energy in bringing order to the God realm, the God realm would have probably remained in a war-stricken state and wouldn't have flourished as much as it has to this day. Free and unfettered God, we may invite you to become the 13th supreme God if we approve of your strength. But the condition is that you need to act according to our laws. When he turned around, the free and unfettered God saw a dark-faced Buddhist monk and a white-haired Taoist priest approach and surround him from the other side with trepidation in their eyes. Other than the curly-bearded man as well as the black-faced monk and the white-haired priest, there were another 4 people glaring at the free and unfettered God present in this world right now. What laws? They allowed you to deceive me for about 1,000,000 years. If I hadn't discovered the truth of the primogenitor star's destruction accidentally, you might have continued to deceive me forever, the free and unfettered God stated mockingly with a disdainful sneer. However, he stopped speaking soon after as the 7 supreme gods had finished deploying the array the moment he had finished speaking, and had unfolded an assault on him simultaneously. Die. Did you really think we came here to make peace with you because we were willing to chat with you? The bearded man grinned maliciously and hacked his giant halberd towards the frozen free and unfettered God. Oh, free and unfettered God, don't blame us for being tyrannical. The sole blame lies in you for being too smart, as smart people never have good endings. Free and unfettered God, this Lord has never admired anyone in my entire life, but I really admired you with all my heart. However, the world you want to build harms our interests, so the only end left for you is death. Don't become enemies with us in your next life. The 7 supreme gods had schemed for thousands of years to develop a divine artifact that targeted the free and unfettered God and pretended, for a few decades after that, to lure him into a trap. They sighed in relief internally after realizing they were finally on the eve of killing the free and unfettered God successfully, and looked at him with sympathy and pity. I put on a show for so many decades and thought I would be able to exchange it with the lives of the 12 supreme gods, but it seems like I can only exchange it with the lives of 7 of them. What a huge loss this is. Looks like I'll have to leave the remaining 5 demons for my successor to deal with. The free and unfettered God sighed all of a sudden, and a blazing aura exploded out from within his body immediately afterward. Unfortunately, as it was, as they were on the eve of succeeding, the 7 supreme gods never imagined that the free and unfettered God still could move, nor did they think he would choose to take them down along with him. Followed by a loud bang, the 8 supreme gods, including the free and unfettered in it, disintegrated into a fine powder. 2 trails of hot tears ran down Tang Xiu's cheeks as sorrowful emotions welled up from the depths of his heart. The world then descended into endless darkness as a stream of information flowed into Tang Xiu's mind. Chapter 1423, God Realm, 5 Karmic Cycle, Golden Peng joins the ranks. Earth is the real God Realm, and the current God Realm is just a new world established by the 12 supreme gods that imitates the comprehensive environment of Earth. Tang Xiu felt stunned after he digested the information obtained from the Golden Orb, as it was too unbelievable for him. Tang Xiu had obtained the legacy of the free and unfettered God through the Golden Orb, and at the same time, He had also learned about the origin of the god realm and the truth of how the 12 supreme gods had enslaved all the deities, using underhanded means. The 12 supreme gods were neither the strongest entities in the god realm nor were they the earliest to have become supreme gods. However, during an exploration, they had unexpectedly found the land of Divine Origin City. Divine Origin was also known as Origin Force in the god realm. It was the fundamental requirement necessary for a god sovereign to become a supreme god and was the most precious and expensive resource in the god realm without exception. The discovery of the Divine Origin City invoked the greed within the hearts of the 12 supreme gods, and caused them to kill the other dozen or so god emperors and god sovereigns in the exploration team. If it weren't for the fact that the 12 supreme gods feared they may lose their lives because they were equally matched in strength and the fact that the Divine Origin City had an abundant amount of origin force that could satisfy all of their needs completely, they would have undoubtedly fought each other. After seizing the Divine Origin City, the 12 supreme gods feared that the other supreme gods might come over and plunder the Divine Origin, so they didn't hesitate to launch an unprecedented war against the other supreme gods. The 12 supreme gods used the Divine Origin as bait and employed a majority of the god emperors and god sovereigns to attack the other supreme gods. As such, faced with the overwhelming assault, all the other supreme gods fell into the hands of the 12 supreme gods, and even their godheads and legacies were deprived after they perished. This unprecedented war was known as the Battle of Ruin, and it had almost destroyed the entire god realm. The 12 supreme gods always came up with dignified reasons in each of their campaigns, so they always held the moral high ground in the public and thus didn't incur the revulsion of that many deities. After the war ended, to eliminate all chances of anyone discovering the Divine Origin City, the 12 supreme gods announced that they were willing to offer all the resources in their hands to build a new god realm and solicited contributions from all the deities concurrently. As the 12 supreme gods had completely isolated the divine origin of the Divine Origin City, all the deities responded to their call after discovering that the divine origin on earth wasn't enough to satisfy their cultivation needs, and the 12 supreme gods even obtained the highest honor and respect thusly. After establishing the new god realm, the 12 supreme gods discovered that they hadn't actually used up that many resources and instead gained a lot of rare cultivation resources. So they spent several tens of thousands of years to continuously thicken the barrier between the new god realm and the god realm of Earth, to prevent the other deities to leave for Earth and find the Divine Origin City, leaving behind a backdoor to Earth which only they were aware of. By establishing the new god realm as a result of the Battle of Ruin, the 12 supreme gods had not just managed to eliminate all the forces stronger than them, they had also accumulated deep fame at the same time that allowed them to candidly become the supreme rulers of the god realm, without any qualms. After realizing the benefits brought by the authoritarian regime, the 12 supreme gods began to plunder the cultivation resources, cultivation methods, and battle skills of all the deities in an unbridled manner and enslaved all the deities. At the same time, they began to closely monitor all corners of the god realm for any anomalies and nipped the danger in the bud, if any such uncontrollable elements made their appearance. Under the enslavement of the 12 supreme gods, the god realm was no longer a place where entities lived a free and unfettered life and instead became an existence similar to the 18 layers of hell. It became very difficult for the deities to promote their strength and even more difficult to survive as almost all the deities served either the 12 supreme gods or their affiliated forces. And this only changed with the appearance of the free and unfettered supreme god. It was because the free and unfettered supreme god cultivated the free and unfettered path that allowed him to have countless incarnations, and understood his heart well. Furthermore, he always acted in a low-profile manner because of his prudent nature. So the 12 supreme gods who had grown lax from an easy life for so long failed to discover his existence from the very beginning. By the time the 12 supreme gods had found the free and unfettered supreme god, they were already unable to defeat him and instead suffered defeats at his hands, which damaged their reputation greatly. As the divine power of incarnation was too powerful, the 12 supreme gods were even on guard against each other because they feared one of them might be an incarnation of the free and unfettered supreme God. It was also this divine power of incarnation that allowed the free and unfettered supreme God to find out about the truth behind the Battle of Ruin and gave rise to the thoughts of eliminating the 12 supreme gods in his mind. Senior free and unfettered God, please rest at ease. I will definitely fulfill your final wish and return the God realm to all the deities from the hands of the 12 supreme gods. Tang Xiu had also figured out the history behind the 12 zodiac jade carvings from the huge amount of information he had obtained from the golden orb. The free and unfettered supreme God had carved these 12 zodiac jade carvings when he was in the God realm, and they contained the heavenly laws of earth, the primogenitor star of the God realm, and also contained the heavenly laws of the entire God realm. As long as he had sufficient cultivation resources, these heavenly laws would allow Tang Xiu to ignore any bottlenecks in cultivation and reach the supreme God stage without any hindrance. However, as Tang Xiu's body wasn't strong enough to handle so much power, his cultivation stage stopped increasing when he became a peak stage ancient god. Moreover, the heavenly laws contained within the 12 zodiac jade carvings also allowed Tang Xiu to return to Earth. After communicating with drunken Immortal, Star Soul, and the others with his divine intent, Tang Xiu appeared in another space momentarily with a single thought. This space contained a dense amount of divine origin force along with a blue sky full of white clouds, black land, and a series of mountain ranges. However, these mountains didn't have any plants and instead had countless gravestones and ancient graves packed together. After seeing a totally different scenery compared to Earth, Tang Xiu almost believed he was still in the God realm and hadn't returned to Earth. Youngling, 30 years have passed yet thou still haven't ascended to the immortal world? How long am I to wait for mine returneth to the God realm? A weak voice echoed in Tang Xiu's mind suddenly and caused his gaze to shift over to another direction. A 300-meter-tall huge golden peng that had its 2 bare feet chained with 2 thick manacles, and had a conflagration of flames burning on its body came into Tang Xiu's view. However, after experiencing decades of torment, the golden peng obviously lacked its former spiritedness and rested its head on the ground morosely instead of raising it up arrogantly. The gaze with which it observed Tang Xiu had also turned dimmer. Karmic cycle. Tang Xiu understood the reason he had appeared in this space immediately after seeing the golden peng. The golden peng had helped him consolidate the Buddhist golden body when he arrived at the subspace under the resting cemetery island back in the past, and that had allowed his cultivation of the heavenly art of cosmic genesis to experience enormous progress, causing his strength to leap from the meridian transformation stage to the viscera transformation stage. In exchange, Tang Xiu promised to free the golden peng after becoming a supreme and returning to the summit of the immortal world. Unfortunately, although he wished to return to Earth to rescue the golden peng after cultivating back to a supreme in the immortal world, he was unable to find a way to shatter the barrier between Earth and the immortal world and had to shelve the matter as a result. Tang Xiu felt a twinge of guilt after recalling this and looked at the golden peng with a guilty gaze. Tang Xiu actually didn't care much about the 30 years mentioned by the golden peng. This was because of the special nature of the spatial barrier, which caused a time dilation when he ascended to immortal world. A similar time dilation might have existed when he returned to Earth from the God realm. Hence, Tang Xiu wouldn't have found it strange even if only a single day had passed since his ascension to the immortal world, after returning to the God realm. In any case, for Tang Xiu, it was better to return to Earth earlier than later. Senior Golden Peng, pardon me for coming so late. I will free you from the dermic flames and the chains right away. Tang Xiu didn't give an explanation to the golden peng and instead took out the sword he had obtained from the free and unfettered supreme god's legacy within the walled hill village and hacked at the chains binding the golden peng's feet with force. As for the dermic flames on the golden peng's body, they were even easier to solve. With just a single thought from Tang Xiu, the yin-yang divinity lake inside his body jetted out a stream of lake water and extinguished the dermic flames on the golden peng's body that had been burning for several million years. Thou hath used the yin-yang divinity lake's lake water to extinguish the flames. This is too wasteful. The golden peng felt like it was dreaming when the dermic flames on its body were extinguished, and then it berated Tang Xiu with an incredulous tone after glaring at him. In the next moment, the golden peng no longer bothered to criticize Tang Xiu for his wasteful extravagance and opened its mouth as it unfurled its wings, following which it sucked all the yin-yang divinity lake's lake water that had splashed onto the ground after hitting its wings dry, not even leaving a drop behind. After swallowing the yin-yang divinity lake's lake water, the golden peng's spirit, energy, and soul experienced a monumental change as it was freed from the torment of the chains and the dermic flames, and its aura climbed up little by little. Thou cultivation, shouldn't thou be a supreme immortal? How art thou an ancient god? The golden peng was dumbstruck when it sensed Tang Xiu's strength as it prepared to thank him. Senior Golden Peng, perhaps only 30 years have passed on Earth, but I have already experienced several tens of thousands of years in the immortal world and the god realm. Tang Xiu only knew that the golden peng's master was a supreme god who possessed the heavenly art of cosmic genesis, once and was the nemesis of the Buddhist sect. Other than this, he was completely clueless about the golden peng's circumstances and also had no intention of demanding any answers from it, so he explained things with a smile on his face. Allow this junior to seek forgiveness, Senior Golden Peng. This junior failed to find a method to shatter the barrier between the immortal world and Earth after becoming a supreme immortal, so this junior couldn't return to rescue Senior immediately. This junior barely managed to return to Earth from the god realm because of the help of an almighty deity. The reason Tang Xiu was explaining things to the golden peng patiently wasn't that he was afraid the golden peng would harm him, but rather because its former master possessed the heavenly art of cosmic genesis. Tang Xiu believed his cultivation speed would increase by several degrees with the help of the golden peng, so he felt tempted to recruit it into his ranks. Good. 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 The golden peng laughed out loud after observing Tang Xiu for a while. Thou art loyal and resolute. Thou eke hast a deep affinity with Buddhism and hast an exemplary cultivation aptitude. Youngling, let us hast another deal. Help me avenge mine master and I shall fight for thou in the God realm. Chapter 1424, God Realm, 6 Forming a Master and Servant Contract, Divine Origin City's Location. Tang Xiu's face blushed a little when he heard the golden peng's words, and also felt sincere admiration towards it from the bottom of his heart as he felt that compared to him, the golden peng was the one truly loyal and resolute. Even though several 100,000 years had passed, the first thought in its mind after regaining its freedom was to avenge its master. However, Tang Xiu didn't agree to the deal that the golden peng had proposed that rashly. From the legacy of the free and unfettered god, Tang Xiu had learned that deities placed a lot of importance on karmic links in their cultivation, and the deeper karmic links they had, the harder it would be for them to progress. Often, just one of the karmic links could lead them to cultivation deviation and prevent them from reaching the next stage of cultivation. Senior Golden Peng, have you never wondered who sealed you here? Tang Xiu asked slowly while facing the golden peng's expectant gaze. Although my memory was erased once, I clearly remember that the person who sealed me here was a Buddhism disciple from another world. He killed my master and even sealed me in this land bereft of divine origin for several 100,000 years. The golden peng fumed. You once told me that holy monk Amitabha tried to steal the heavenly art of cosmic genesis and was chased to death by your master before. Did your master never tell you that he killed countless Buddhism disciples? During his several million years long chase of the holy monk Amitabha, Tang Xiu asked faintly after arranging all the information he knew in his mind. However, Tang Xiu's heart filled with doubts as he asked this because the golden peng had told him once that its master was a peak-stage supreme god powerhouse who stood at the pinnacle of the god realm. But from what Tang Xiu knew, the god realm was under the control of the 12 supreme gods, so they absolutely wouldn't allow a powerhouse who they couldn't control to appear in the god realm. Moreover, if the Buddhism disciple could really kill a peak-stage supreme god powerhouse, he wouldn't have had to flee here and there and finally come hide on Earth. And although Tang Xiu could understand the reasoning behind sealing and tormenting the golden peng, the Buddhism disciple had no reason to erase the golden peng's memories. A horrible truth faintly took shape in Tang Xiu's mind, but after taking a look at the golden peng, he didn't have the heart to tell it his conjecture. "You're saying my master killed millions of Buddhism disciples? That's just impossible. My master is the leader of the 12 supreme gods, a well-reputed virtuous deity in the entire god realm. He unified the god realm of the primogenitor star along with the other 11 supreme gods, and even pushed to establish the new god realm. If it weren't for him, the current god realm wouldn't exist at all." The golden peng screamed emotionally before Tang Xiu could even finish his words. The golden peng's scream had pretty much confirmed Tang Xiu's conjecture, and this made him turn silent. "Youngling, hark not selectively. I hast followed mine master for millions of years. If it be true he's yond kind of evil deity, I would hath left him already. How about it? Mine desire is for thee to ponder on mine offer. Mine strength hath not recovered to mine peak, but with enow resources, mine cultivation can recover to supreme god stage speedily." The golden peng reiterated once again after justifying its master. "Senior golden peng, if I told you that your master isn't dead and that the person who imprisoned you isn't that Buddhism disciple, but rather your own master, sacred demon, would you still ask me to avenge your master?" After remaining silent for a while, Tang Xiu decided to speak out as he couldn't bear to keep it hidden from the golden peng any longer. "What? Mine master, sacred demon, hath not died, and be the one who hath imprisoned me? This be impossible. The fact that I know sacred demon's name is already enough to prove it. If that Buddhism disciple really killed your master, he should have killed you too instead of just erasing your memories since he had no reason for letting you live. Furthermore, sacred demon isn't as powerful as you imagine, and he had selfish motivations behind his actions." Since he had decided to tell the truth, Tang Xiu obviously didn't hold back on anything and spoke about his conjecture from what he had learned from drunken Immortal, as well as the information he obtained from the free and unfettered god's legacy. In the beginning, the golden peng was still feeling a bit emotional and wished to interrupt Tang Xiu's words, but Tang Xiu didn't give it a chance to do that. The golden peng's expression changed slowly as it listened to him, and it turned silent in the end too. In fact, after several 100,000 years had passed, the golden peng had already recovered most of its erased memories, and its fabricated memories had also turned vaguer as well. However, the golden peng just wasn't ready to believe the memories that didn't conform with its actual recognition of the events, and it even believed the reason his memories were a mess was because of some injury it might have suffered to its brain during the war several 100,000 years ago, or because they had been tampered by the Buddhist disciple using divine power to make it hate its master and dull its intentions of avenging its master. "So, mine master has deceived me for millions of years?" Although the golden peng had a simple mind, it wasn't a fool. A part of its memories indeed conformed with what Tang Xiu had told it, and this proved that Tang Xiu had actually spoken the facts just now. Furthermore, it and Tang Xiu were just strangers, so Tang Xiu had no reason to dupe it. Moreover, even if Tang Xiu had lied to it, it would have learned the truth after reaching the god realm, so it didn't believe Tang Xiu had duped it. Huge drops of golden tears fell down from the golden peng's eyes. Its condition that had become rejuvenated just recently declined again. And even its life aura began to diminish little by little. There was nothing sadder than a withered heart in this world. The golden peng had got acquainted with sacred demon, a newly ascended deity, just after it had escaped from the extermination of its clan and signed a master and servant contract with him. From that moment onwards, the golden peng had fought for sacred demon in the god realm for millions of years and even saved him from countless calamities. However, after several million years, someone had told it that the sacred demon it knew wasn't the true sacred demon, and that he was actually a selfish and evil demon, so the golden peng felt it had been made a fool of. "Senior, you must live on if you wish to avenge your clan." Tang Xiu felt anxious when he saw that the golden peng intended to kill itself and had a flash of brilliance in his mind that prompted him to shout at it. The extermination of the Golden Peng clan wasn't because of a powerhouse from the monster realm, but rather an insidious plot, schemed by Sacred Demon. The Golden Peng clan got exterminated because of you, but if you die just like this, they would never be able to rest in peace in the underworld. Tang Xiu's words struck the Golden Peng like a bolt of lightning. Its body quivered as it directed its ferocious gaze at Tang Xiu and raised its voice. Youngling, doth thee dare taketh responsibility for thy words? Senior, I have no reason to kid about this matter with you since the truth will come out eventually. Senior must have already had guesses about what I just said, right? Tang Xiu said sincerely after meeting its gaze for a while. Youngling, I shall sign a master and servant contract with thee as long as thee taketh a heavenly oath to help avenge mine clan. I can sense free and unfettered God's aura on thee, so thou art forsooth a foe of Sacred Demon. Since we hath the same goal and I am more familiar with Sacred Demon and the God realm, thee won't refuse this request of mine, shalt thee? A glimmer of determination flashed through the Golden Peng's eyes after a while. After deciding to trust the memories it had regained, the Golden Peng had received answers to a lot of things it was confused about before. Moreover, Tang Xiu's huge potential and the character he had shown had made the Golden Peng trust him and ally with him without the slightest hesitation. Tang Xiu felt ecstatic after hearing the Golden Peng's words. He believed that he had no chances of recruiting the Golden Peng after he had refused to kill that Buddhism disciple, but he never imagined that he would see the light at the end of the tunnel and that the Golden Peng would choose to form a master and servant contract with him. Fearing that the Golden Peng would go back on its word if he delayed any longer, Tang Xiu took a heavenly oath immediately before it. And under his expectant gaze, the Golden Peng also handed over a drop of its lifeblood essence to Tang Xiu. Tang Xiu received the drop of lifeblood essence solemnly and refined it slowly according to the Golden Peng's instructions. After spending 6 hours on it, Tang Xiu finally finished refining the lifeblood essence of the Golden Peng fully, and a faint connection formed between it and him simultaneously. Tang Xiu even had a feeling that he could kill the Golden Peng with just a single thought of his. Master, art thee planning to return to the God realm or art thee planning to settle thy karmic links on earth first? After forming the contract, the Golden Peng didn't call him youngling anymore and instead asked for his instructions in an obsequious manner. Tang Xiu wasn't accustomed to its momentous change in mannerism, so it took him some time to adapt to his new identity. Golden Peng, the reason I came to Earth this time was mainly to free you and also to seek the Divine Origin City to promote my strength. I wonder if you know where the Divine Origin City is hidden. Divine Origin City? Master, the Divine Origin City is Shenong Ridge's Ghost King Valley. T's defense is too well, though. The 12 Supreme Gods hath killed nearly 100 Supreme Gods back in the Battle of Ruin, then refined those deities into puppets, and placed them deities round the Divine Origin City. Move they shalt not in times ordinary, but they shalt attack anyone who hast entered a range of 300 meters. Round the Divine Origin City, the Golden Peng said faintly after hesitating for a moment. Nearly 100 Supreme God puppets? Tang Xiu's expression changed after he heard the Golden Peng's words. He thought he would be able to find the Divine Origin City with his cultivation after returning back to Earth, and that no one would be able to stop him from taking the Divine Origin City, but now, it appeared that even if he found it, he would only be able to gaze at it from afar because he lacked strength. Master, though thee hast nae way to obtain the Divine Origin City, others eke hast nae way too. The 12 Supreme Gods hath left 100 Supreme God puppets to protect the Divine Origin City back then, to prevent other Supreme Gods from obtaining it. Moreover, the 12 Supreme Gods wast on guard against one another, so the 12 of them deities art essential to remove the barrier between Earth and the God realm, even one can't be missing. From what thee hath told me, 7 hast fallen already, so the remaining 5 hast nae way to returneth to Earth. Tang Xiu was stunned after hearing the Golden Peng's words and even felt like laughing. Golden Peng, since we have no way to obtain the Divine Origin City right now, I shall resolve some of my mortal karma in the secular world. Will you come with me or return to the God realm first? Tang Xiu hadn't given up on the divine origin city as he had a faint feeling that the free and unfettered god definitely left a method to deal with the 100 supreme god puppets and he just hadn't found it yet. Master, mine appearance too improper to appeareth ere mortals, and with thy cultivation, nothing can harm thee unless thee wend to the divine origin city, so I shalt returneth to the god realm lest I am powerless at which hour thee needeth mine help. After learning that Tang Xiu was planning to remain on earth, it didn't hesitate in choosing to return to the god realm. Chapter 1425, Earth Realm. 1. The beauty hasn't aged, but where is the king? In a certain part of the Chilean mountain range in Qinghai province, an old lady in a linen coat and a headscarf was lying on a bamboo chair in the thatched cottage. Her hands danced in the air as if she was conducting an orchestra, and streams of energy fluctuated around her. In the end, the streams of energy combined to form a handkerchief with brilliant lights and vibrant colors. Suddenly, a loud sound rang from the door's direction. The old lady immediately stopped her hand movements and stood up. Daoist Tang, did you not already ascend to the immortal world? How did you come back? After seeing who it was, the linen-robed old lady put down the handkerchief. Don't tell me that you failed to pass the tribulation and a fragment of your soul came back again. Cough. Tang Xiu originally planned to have a big smile when greeting the old lady, but after hearing what the old lady said, his handsome face began to blush a bright red. After seeing the old lady's mischievous facial expression, he then realized that she did that purpose. Good to make you laugh. I came to visit you to show my gratitude for fostering the 9 maids back then. Tang Xiu cupped his fists towards the old lady, which represented a greeting. Tang Xiu held a great deal of respect for the old lady. Compared to the other rulers throughout China's different eras, this old lady was someone who truly protected China. She was already nearly 1,000 years old, and yet, she had never abandoned China. She chose to remain and protect this land all this time in secrecy and had rescued China from many genocidal threats. At the same time, her power managed to keep the other countries at bay as well. Daoist Tang is too polite. It was fate that brought Zhongling and those other brats to me. They also helped me solve many problems in my cultivation as well. If we really are to talk about gratitude, I should be the one grateful towards Daoist Tang. The old lady was not excited and calmly replied. Tang Xiu couldn't help but pause. When he ascended back then, did the old lady not ask him to take her with him to the immortal world? Why was it that after a few decades, the old lady seemed to be uninterested at the notion of ascending to the immortal world? Tang Xiu understood very quickly. He didn't know what the old lady had been through, but he knew that her life was coming to an end soon. Daoistly, when I ascended, did some dangerous figures appear again? Upon recognizing the heavy wounds on the old lady's body, Tang Xiu couldn't hold back his curiosity and asked. Daoist Tang, my old body is already spent. Don't tease me anymore. A couple of decades ago, when Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingzhen successfully passed the tribulation and ascended, I thought that the tribulation had become easier. In the end, when I tried to cross the tribulation 2 years ago, I nearly lost my life. The old lady said this and stared daggers at Tang Xiu. Upon hearing her words, an expression of awkwardness crept onto Tang Xiu's face. I'm truly sorry. When I ascended back then, I was only focused on revenge. I was afraid that by bringing you with me, it would karmically affect your heavenly Tao, so I had to refuse. Please accept this gift from me as my apology. When Tang Xiu said this, he pointed a finger at the old lady. The old lady, looking at Tang Xiu's finger, was suddenly immobilized. She saw lines of green light appear out of Tang Xiu's finger, then they rapidly surged into her body. After the green light entered her body, her inner injuries and wounds were instantly healed. Her life force rapidly increased as well and finally, her appearance also turned younger by the second. After a while, Tang Xiu retracted his finger with beads of sweat visible on his forehead. This was because he had just injected his own vitality into the old lady to use. He felt that this was worth it. This I'm unbelievably grateful to Daoist Tang. I have nothing that I can give in return. If Daoist Tang does not dislike it, then I'm willing to be your servant and do whatever it is that you wish. After feeling a complete change within her body, the old lady was completely in awe of Tang Xiu's divine abilities and was also filled with gratitude. Daoist Li, you have already cultivated on Earth for 1,000 years. Have you felt that there's something abnormal on Earth? For example, many things that belonged to the immortal world and the God realm suddenly appeared on Earth. Tang Xiu looked at the old lady and laughed. He only asked this after the old lady had calmed down. Now that Daoist Tang has mentioned it, that's true. I have realized that many abnormal things happened. Although my power on Earth can be considered as top tier, there are still many places that I'm completely unable to see and do not dare to get near to either. The old lady didn't know what Tang Xiu was hinting at, so she just went along with it. What if I told you that Earth was not always like this, but it was once the God realm? However, because of a great war, Earth has become what it is today. Would you believe me? What? How's that possible? The old lady heard this and was completely shocked. She started to refute that claim, but she slowly fell into deep thought. After a while, she mumbled. If Earth was really once the God realm, then the things that happened to me in Shinong Ridge, Ghost King Valley back then can be explained. Daoist Li, I have something quite unfair to ask of you. If you don't mind, would you be able to stay on Earth and not ascend, while helping me to investigate all the abnormal places on Earth? If Daoist Li can provide me with valuable information, then I will naturally reward you abundantly for them. After he heard that the old lady also knew of the things in Ghost King Valley, Tang Xiu's eyes lit up. After he received the old lady's promise, Tang Xiu breathed a sigh of relief. Star City, Old River Street District, Shanty Area, Sioux Family Restaurant. Even though it was still quite early in the morning, there was already a line of customers waiting for the restaurant to open. After a few decades of city growth, Star City was already changed completely. The Old River Street District was already renovated and rebuilt. Only the Shanty Area and the Sioux Family Restaurant remained. At most, they just renovated the outer walls, which made this area a special venue in Star City. Do you guys reckon that Cheng Yannan would come and join Teacher Xia's 60th birthday? She was once her favorite student, after all. I heard that Su Xiangfei did invite Cheng Yannan. As for whether or not she would show up, that's another story. After all, Magnificent Tang Corporation is such a big responsibility. Anything can happen at any moment. I saw Cheng Yannan on the news yesterday and she looks just like a 20-year-old lady. There were no marks of age on her face and she did not look like a 40-year-old at all. She looked just like a fairy. Cheng Yannan was a hot topic at that time. Although Cheng Yannan did awaken special abilities, her cultivation aptitude was average, so she couldn't keep up with the cultivation speed of the Tang sex members. Even then, Tang Xiu was willing to take her with him when he ascended to the immortal world, but she refused him tactfully. The reason for her refusal was simple. The Magnificent Tang Corporation was too big. Long Zhengyu might not have been able to handle it if she left. Furthermore, even if she did ascend to the immortal world, she wouldn't be of much help anyway. Therefore, it was better for her to stay on Earth and take care of the Magnificent Tang Corporation in Tang Xiu's stead. Since Tang Xiu and Cheng Xueme failed to persuade her, they could only allow Cheng Yannan to have her way and stay on Earth. At the same time, they gave all the responsibilities of the Magnificent Tang Corporation to Cheng Yannan. As for Long Zhengyu, he was left in charge of Nine Dragons Island and the other businesses. However, he was now able to put more time and effort into cultivating. Southgate Town, Villa Number 9. Before leaving Earth, Tang Xiu had given his house to Cheng Yannan to take care of. Cheng Yannan did not make any changes and moved in right away. President Cheng, Mr. Xia Mingjie's birthday party begins at 12:10 p.m. officially. Would you like to go there before it begins? Or would you like to wait until the party has already officially begun to go? Her beautiful secretary, Daimi, asked her gently as she brushed and styled Chang Yannan's hair. Let me have a look at the list of attendees. Chang Yannan did not answer Daimi's question, but instead, asked her to do something. Daimi paused for a second, then proceeded to walk into the lounge room. Then, she took a magnificent Tang Corporation's iPad into the room with her. After a few quick swipes, a list that was updated 3 minutes ago was now in front of Chang Yannan. As expected, the first name on the list was Xia Mingjie. Then, it was Principal Wei Zhentai, as well as other teachers of the school in Star City. At the very end of the list, those names included the past students of Xia Mingjie from the past few decades. There were nearly 300 people on the list. Chang Yannan was only familiar with her classmates in Class 10, the principal, and some of the teachers. After seeing that the list named Wei Zhentai, Hu Qiuxing, and Yang Jian as some of the attendees, Chang Yannan immediately frowned. Tang Xiu was once nearly kicked out of Star City by these people. If it wasn't for Han Qinggu, the teacher in charge of Class 10 defending him and his results improving suddenly, Chang Yannan did not think that she would get to know Tang Xiu back then and got into an unforgettable relationship with him. Chang Yannan wanted to call Su Xiangfei to erase Wei Zhentai, Hu Qiuxing, and Yang Jian from the attendees list. However, after mulling over it, she dismissed that notion. It had already been so many decades since then, so she didn't feel it was necessary to bring up little things that happened in the past again. Xiu, it has already been a few decades. Are you doing well in the immortal world? Chang Yannan refreshed the attendees list 2 times and still couldn't find the name that she wanted to find, and a poignant smile appeared on her face. Xiu, if you were to give me another chance, I would have definitely chosen to follow you to the immortal world and fight alongside you. Xiu, it wasn't that I didn't want to ascend with you, but because there are too many transcendental beauties by your side, so I never found a sense of belonging beside you. 2 lines of tears flowed from her eyes silently, and the faint sorrow hidden inside them was enough to evoke pity.